once you've come up with a bunch of brainstorms, you're going to put together a really rough draft of your final chosen concept. Okay. And again, this is not a gorgeous thing at this point. You'll draw your very, very nice isometric after you finish building the object. Okay, but it's good to have a starting point. And also, when you've drawn your general shape, think about the thickness of that piece of material. Okay, so foam board is not just paper thin, it is thick. It has this a 13/16 of an inch. So think about, double the size of your triangle thickness. But that's just a guesstimate, okay? You need to do the math on it. But I drew some of the sides. I'm going to go very simple with mine. And I'm going to find out as I'm going that I'm going to need to add on to this, because this would be like a giant boot. and it would just be like having two small boxes. So this is obviously not going to work. But for example purposes, this is what I need to do. So I drew in my pieces with the ideal thickness, and also figuring out which pieces go outside and which pieces go inside. You're going to have to sandwich a piece in between two, or if you have two pieces, you're going to put that last piece on top. So that's going to affect your overall dimensions when you're trying to plan this out. So right now I'm starting simple. I'm going to say I need two pieces like this. These are sides. And I'm going to need two tall ends. Okay, that's going to sandwich in between. And I've made mine so all three of my standing pieces are sandwiched in between the two end pieces. I'm going to need one short. And then here's the piece that everyone always forgets. The base. Okay, whether you want it nestled in or if you want to have your entire piece sitting on top of it, that's up to you. But the thing people forget is that you need a bottom, so when you put stuff in it, if you pick it up to move it, you don't want your stuff to fall out. Okay, so again, you're going to make sure that you're kind of figuring out how many pieces. And if you know what size of items that you're putting in there, it might be a good idea to like measure those and use those as reference sizes. Okay, so once I've drawn this out and I have kind of a general, I can write dimensions all over this ugly sketch. That's absolutely fine. I'm going to make this 12 inches. I'm going to make this piece about, let's go 8 inches tall. And I'm going to go maybe 5 inches wide in between these two pieces. So it's going to be, let's see here, 3/16 plus 3/16 equals 6/16, 3/8 thick. So it'd be 5 3/8 thick. So this base piece is going to have to be 5 3/8. Okay. See how I'm doing kind of the math and figuring this out, and just I'm writing ugly stuff all over here. So once I get to my large sheet of paper, I can start cutting out the pattern. Now, I didn't want to waste one of my huge sheets of paper because I only have so much of that. So I kind of drew a half scale version down here. The piece of paper that I gave you is bigger than the piece of foam core. So the first thing I did was I measured out my 20 inches, and I did mine at half scale. So I measured out 10 inches. And I drew a line, and then the 16 inches I changed to 8 inches for my purpose, but I measured down and I drew that. I put X's on the pieces that are waste, and then I put my name right here in the corner. Okay, so the cut pattern is something that you're going to be drawing, that we're going to transfer it, kind of like when you're carving pumpkins. Okay, you're not going to cut those pieces out. I still want to see your layout plan, and I have to see that before I'll give you a piece of foam core. But what you're going to do is you're going to take your measurements, and it's easier to erase on this flat surface and on a piece of paper than it is on a piece of foam board. Plus, the foam board shows everything. Okay, so my first measurement I was going to do was 12 inches. So since I'm drawing mine at half scale, I'm going to draw it at 6. Okay, and then I said I was going to do 8 inches, so that's going to actually going to be 4. Let's see here. There's 4, and there's 4. Okay, and so I'm just kind of very lightly going with my construction weight lines to begin with. Now this notch I didn't decide, so I think I'm going to make it 6 and 6. So that'll be 3. Okay, and I want to point out that I am going to plan on using the same cutting line for both pieces. I'm going to kind of nest them together so that it makes sense where they're going. Okay, and so I'm also going to make this piece right here only 4 inches. Or actually, I'm going to make this 3 inches, and this is going to be 5 inches because I want a really shallow base piece. So that's going to be 1.5. Okay. Okay. So this first boot piece is going to be one side. Okay, and I can utilize this as the top part, so all I'm going to have to do here is come up 1.5 inches here. Okay, and now I can darken in my cutting lines for my 2 side pieces. Okay, so the lines that I'm darkening in are going to be my cut lines when I transfer this over. So look, side 1, side 2. Okay, and I'm going to cut with an X-Acto knife directly on that line. So that's what you're going to be doing for creating your pattern piece. It's going to take some trial and error. Don't darken anything in until you're absolutely sure, but you're going to figure out laying out the rest of those pieces. And you don't want anything within this zone to be left over. You'll have to use it somehow, whether it's used for bracing or it's used to shore up some of your corners. But get creative, okay? I don't necessarily want this. That's just my ugly example, but let's see what you can do. Okay, have fun and measure carefully.